We are going to have some fun here today. I'm just going to be designing a creature from scratch. So if you're an aspiring creature designer or a character designer, or you just want to learn how to doodle and make better sketches, now you can tune in and follow along with me, or just watch, whichever one you want to do. Most of my lessons I give walkthroughs on thumbnail sketching, but I thought today we'll do something that's just straight from scratch, and I'll do a full body creature, and I'll put most of the shading I'll put most of the shading in what would appear to be the face. I don't know where the face is going to be yet because the sketch has not gotten there yet, but we're going to find out. So the first things that I'm doing are laying down very light lines, thinking lines I like to call them, so that I'm not committing to any details, but you can clearly see a silhouette taking shape. So if you're worried about making sure that the first lines that you put down need to be perfect, I'm here to tell you, just scrap that thought, because they're not going to be perfect, and you're just going to set yourself up for failure. But two, just allow yourself to have fun and to explore with maybe shapes that you're not used to making. You know, like this whole shape right here kind of looks like a chicken wing almost. At the end, I have split this leg off into two appendages. It's probably still going to be one leg, but I don't know how that's going to work yet, so we're going to find out. And I'll walk you through my anatomical choices too. So if I want to show some muscle in there, I'll show you how to do it. So right away I see an opportunity. If this is going to be the leg, then on the other side I can bend it at that point. So it's going to seem like a knee. So I'm going to bend it like this, and this first appendage is going to be this front one right here. So whatever this is in the back kind of looks like crab pincers, but I don't know how this is going to work, but let's see. Maybe it bends again right down here. So we can put maybe some toes, but they're not normal. So we can put like little suction cups or just something fun. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm trying to keep myself in check. I don't want to draw the same exact shapes that I always do, like coupling together certain shapes. So what I'm doing is I'm making this big bulbous round shape, and then I'm just kind of having a leg come straight from it. I didn't draw a shoulder necessarily. This is going to be fun. It already is fun. Oh, by the way, the tools that I'm using, just because I get asked this all the time, this particular pencil that I'm using is a Tombow 4B. I like 4B as a grade in graphite just because it allows me to get dark and it also allows me to get light. And the ultimate goal, if you want to be a really good sketcher, is not to use an entire pencil set. It's a waste of money, and you're only going to end up using one pencil anyway the better you get. So you might as well just learn with one pencil. All right, so I'm thinking about putting a weird apparatus right there, like an appendage or something. Maybe two little arms coming out of what should be the mouth. Let's see what happens here. See how light I'm being? There's no harsh commitment to any of these shapes. I don't even know what's going to happen with the head. Maybe the head's going to be way up here. So let's see what happens. I still need to figure out what's going on with his body. Since most of the weight is in the front, that's probably where it's going to stay. Okay. I'm going to put in just some legs in the back here. Make sure that the sketch is moved up. I'll probably have to tilt the sketchbook just a little bit so you guys can see it. I'm trying to keep the upper portions up here in focus also. I have most of the camera focused right here. So if parts of the edges get a little blurry, I'm sorry. I try to be conscious of that and move the sketchbook around whenever I have to adjust. Okay, so I'm thinking that this needs a tail. Ooh, that's going to be strange, huh? And right now, everything is light. Nothing is put into, or I'm not dedicating too much into any one area right now. So that's going to be a strange looking tail. All right, now notice what I did here. This is a design choice. This was on purpose. So in order to eliminate stiffness, the tail and the back, tails are usually for balance. So you got to think about a creature actually needing the balance. I put the tail in the back because I didn't want this creature to be just top heavy or front heavy and top heavy right over here. So maybe, you know, if it ever had to lean forward, the tail is in the back to kind of counterbalance that. This leg is shooting out to our far left to anchor the weight in case it gets pushed down onto the ground. So I'll just do a little arrow. Okay, so like that. Just little design choices in the beginning will most likely help you later on, so you don't make that bad choice of illustrating and putting a lot of detail on something that is not balanced right. All right, let's keep going. So this area is pretty interesting. Here's what I like doing. I'm just going to hold my pencil at the very end like this, so I have a lot of space right here so the grip is loose. And I'm just going to lightly shade across my entire drawing, but make sure that the shading marks are lighter than the outlines that I gave everything. This ensures that I don't end up shading the same tone as the outline and then losing the outline. So this is a really neat trick that you guys can do if you're wanting to learn how to be a good shader, but still keep that nice outline. There have been so many instances throughout my career and just my artistic journey since I was a little kid where I would start shading and I had a really cool outline for the creature, but then when I started to put like nice gradients in there, the outline was gone, and then I had to draw over top of it and it was the wrong spot. And I just got so annoyed. So I just stopped doing it and I just kept everything light at first. So notice how this is my like third, fourth pass maybe. It's going to be my fifth. I don't know, I lost count. So here I'm not pressing harder. Every single pass is the same pressure. But what this does is it makes everything smooth. On top of the outline, you can still see the outline. Okay, so far so good, right? Next step, we're gonna figure out what to do with the facial region, because I don't know. So maybe there can be another opening right here. I'm allowing myself to have fun with this design without worrying too much about where I think it should be later. I'm gonna mention that in so many different videos. And I do that, I repeat myself because, you know, my videos get to new viewers every time, but also, you know, artists are kind of stubborn. So we don't want to do things we know we should be doing. So I'm gonna keep repeating it until you do it. This is why I always ask you to follow along with me and draw, so that you can get out the physical movement of constructing a new type of drawing. So you don't fall into these silly little habits that you do and then get upset because you fell into the silly little habit. Okay. All right. You know, this probably needs an extra large joint up here. I still don't know what that bulbous shape is, but I'm putting a little bit more structure to it just because something doesn't feel right. And also, speaking of not feeling right, see, this is why we do these things lightly. We have the massive shoulder followed by the space in between the shoulder and then the legs over here. Now, I've given lessons before about showing the space and the distance that you would need for your torso, for the intestines, for the chest cavity, rib cage, whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here and I'm going to add in a little rounded spot. So you can see the roundness kind of coming across here, followed by this lump and then this lump in the back. That lump in the back could have the hips underneath it and then maybe a second set of shoulders down here. See all these directional changes? This is what's going to add to the realism as long as you connect them correctly. So you can connect all of these parts in the back by adding some value on top and then showing some wrinkles where the skin would bend in between each lump, and just allowing some space in between them. But this isn't the focus over there. This is the focus. So now what I want to do is I want to make this front part more interesting. I'm pretty happy with this strange, almost crustaceans type shape right here. You can have maybe some little appendages coming out here. I'm just making stuff up as I go, but I'm still trying to make the individual parts believable. I want you guys to see how I'm constructing these. Tiny little arms in here. Little arms get a deltoid muscle, they get an elbow, and then they get their wrist. It's kind of a crooked wrist as the claws show up to the side. Maybe we can put one in the front. There we go. Okay. I'm just going to darken in between there. Right like this. All of that area inside is going to get a cast shadow anyway, because this shell's going to be thick and this is deep set inside there. So, you know, it would be really funny if those were the eyes. These are the eyes, folks. There we go. And I'm going to be the first to say, well, I am going to tell you flat out, I have never drawn a creature like this before. I've been drawing creatures for like 40 years. I've never drawn one like this. So this is kind of hilarious and a little scary at the same time. So I'm just going to have to trust my own process and make sure that I look at that thing. That's so funny. I also have to make sure that it's in perspective, and I'm not doing a good job at that. So I'm just going to make sure that that is good. Make sure everything's even. Now I see a really fun opportunity to put some shading inside this mouth right here. So we're going to hint at maybe some structures inside. It kind of looks like a weevil almost. And I think the thickness of the shell is really going to be apparent on this side. Okay, so this is probably going to be confusing for some of you watching, and how I add thickness to the shell region. So the outer edge of the shell, okay, it's right here, and about maybe 1 millimeter in, maybe 2 millimeters. I'm going to put a second outline to it. Okay, so now we're going to need to think about the light source and where the shadow of that's going to be. So the inside of the mouth, or the inside of the shell right here where the mouth is located, that's already pretty dark. Okay, now if this side is collecting the light, then that means the shelf going down, it's almost like the top of a cliff. So think about the top of a cliff with the sunlight showing at noon. The side of the cliff is going to get shadow. So I'm just going to lightly put in some shadow here. Let's see if I can get a good angle. Right there. But notice how I'm not going as dark as what's inside of the shell. So now we have 3 different values. We have the darkness inside where the crazy eyeballs are and the mandibles and everything. Then we have the side of the shell turning away from the light. And now we have the light source over here. So we're going to slowly but surely start to build that up. And remember, we're focusing on the face first before we do anything else to the rest of the creature. Now what I would do is, if the light source, I'm going to put a little arrow for you guys so you can see, if the light source is up here and it's showing down at a pretty good angle, so that means everything up on top is going to get the highlight, okay, especially right in here. If it's a chitinous layer, or if it's you know, like a speck highlight, then obviously right around here. But here's the cool thing. So I'm going to go back down here where the roundness of this whole shell is going into the underbelly, right on here. And I'm just going to start shading upward over top of everything. I'm not going to, see, this is where beginners kind of screw up. They start to compartmentalize where they think they should be shading. No, just shade across everything. That gives you an even gradient. It's no different than, you know, being in Marmoset or setting up your lights in Unreal and you need that ambient lighting. This is before bounce light. You just need the ambient lighting and the ambient shadows. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work all the way up that spherical shape and get lighter as I get to the top. Now, what that does is it's starting to give the illusion that there's shadow under here, over top of what I had already shaded. This is when the realism starts to come out. Now what I can do is I can go back in and very faintly outline where that massive shoulder is starting. Okay, there's the shell right here, or like a soft shell. There's the inside right here, and then another good opportunity for the inside would be to use black Prismacolor, but only do that in areas where it's so dark that no light is penetrating. That can get pretty dark even with this 4B too. Little bits and pieces in the areas where the light is just not getting to. And that right there is going to add so much depth for you guys. So let's turn this back up so you can see the feet. Kind of looks like a linebacker, huh? Like a huge football player, but a creature. It's pretty fun. The face isn't really defined, and I don't really know what to do about that right now. I didn't mess up, but it's not how I envisioned it, and I'm just going to go with the flow. I'm not going to use the eraser. I'm just going to see what I can do. It almost looks like a spider also. Maybe the shell opens up, and what it's doing right now is just enclosing its face with these huge muscles for, safety reasons. I don't know. But I'm kind of disappointed in how I did that face. So here I'm actually gripping my pencil a little tighter, about midway through the pencil. That's just comfortable for me. It might be more comfortable for somebody else in a different angle. See, I didn't even like that, so I'm just gonna have to keep going over what I shaded until I'm happy with it. There we go. That's decent. What I do need to think about is how that shoulder is going to fit inside the shell. I've talked about that many times. If you have an arachnid shell or some kind of exoskeleton, that the joints need to move, everybody. They need to move, and you need to have the little holes. It's no different than designing a toy. Just look at the toy and look how the limbs articulate and what they fit inside. Because right now, I'm going to use tiny little circles, and I'm going to shade right inside where the arm and the shell meet. I'm not going to try to be perfect or anything, but I'm just going to indicate where that shoulder is going to be, so you can see the depth happening. Now what I can do, I can go a little darker in here, so there might be some shadows right down there underneath. Fade that off. Because right inside here, there's going to be another shelf, kind of like the cliff idea that I was talking about. The little cliff. And then I'm just going to shade inside there. So when you guys are doing these multi-layered shading techniques, just make sure that one value can be seen against the next. So if one is blending in a little too much, you need to adjust one of them. All right? So like, for example, the inside is dark. Great. The shelf is dark too, but it's still lighter than the dark inside the shell. You can see what's happening. We're layering these up. I also told you guys it's going to be a little bit more advanced. So if you're getting frustrated, you're allowed to be frustrated. Drawing is not easy, okay? There are no shortcuts to drawing. And unfortunately, people think that there are, and they don't want to put in the work, or they just use AI and just call themselves artists, and that's a whole different conversation. But what we're doing here is we're going old school. We're building these sketches up from nothing. Okay, so I like that little face in there. The only problem is, man, I did not anticipate the face giving me this many problems. It looks pretty flat, so I'm just going to have the shells cast shadow shine on top of that face and probably over the eye, and only have the shine of one eye showing right there. There's like a little speck highlight in there. Okay, I think that's going to do for now. And I'm just going to put in another spike on the other side I just got to make sure that these look even. You also have to think about perspective and how these things are going to look. All right, so let's move down here so you can see what I'm doing. So I don't want just random spikes. I want them to look like they belong on the creature, so that they're actually belonging on that shell. That's key. There we go. And another cool trick is if I have a spike or a tentacle, I'm just going to work some shading down from the tip into the body of the spike. And what that does is it gives a good finished look, an intentionally finished look. Yeah, right like that. And then I'm just going to continue to put in the shading. Okay. So once we have that, we can keep going. So maybe this part of the shell dips in a little farther. So we'll get dark and then we'll go to light. I haven't even laid down details yet. This is just the shading part. So like there's going to be details and little crevices on top of the shell, and I can just show you how to do that right now. I'm just putting little marks lightly. This is when the pencil tip gets that really nice flat spot, and all of a sudden shading feels like butter, like it's just really smooth. So you can put in some cool little textures on the shell. Maybe some parts are poking up, maybe there's some stripes on there, who knows. Just have fun with this. But make these subtle. You don't want to make them too dark. Okay, that looks kind of cool. I'm also starting to think that maybe, just maybe, the shoulder is going to need more muscle than I thought. It was just going to be one rounded, like, gelatinous shape, and I don't think that's going to work. So we're going to need some muscle in there, but I'm just going to finish these toes out. I'm not going to get fancy with these, so maybe that's just the way these feet are going to look. Maybe there's like a little opening there in the leg. There's I guess you can call it the kneecap. Like this. We're going to do the tendons coming up. See, this is a fun part when you start making these body parts look real and they're completely made up. So the muscles that are going to be happening inside, oh boy, that's going to be a fun one. Okay, so let's look at the area up here where the shoulder is. We have a completely crazy looking appendage right here. I guess you can call it the knee, and then it's going into a massive shoulder. So how should we show the muscles for that shoulder? We're going to be making up the shapes, but I'm going to show you how to do it realistically. So let's look at the big overall silhouette. We got a big lump here, and we have an even bigger one here. So we can split that off into several parts of a deltoid. Okay, so we have this up here, very light, and then maybe in here we'll show some striations coming up, and we don't want to outline this too heavily. Instead, we're going to be showing separation of these muscle groups with shading. All right, so this is the under part of the shoulder, and what I'm going to do is just put in some shading right there. I'm going to keep the strokes close together. Okay, now you can see that this next muscle is showing up more. That's what I want. See that outline happening? I'm keeping the actual outline very rough. I'm shading in the outline. I'm not actually drawing it hardcore. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the under part of this rounded shoulder, and I'm just going to work up some values also, like this. Keeping the strokes close together. Everything's very light. Now let's see if anything's popping out that I need to bring out more. You can start to see the shadows happening on each muscle group. And what I'm doing is, do you see the outlines that I gave each of these three? I'm going to that line and I'm working shading off of that line into the muscle. That will make you have more realistic muscle groups and keep that cartoony outline for the muscles away. There's nothing wrong with that if you want to draw cartoons, but this is more of a like realistic advanced shading. So you're not going to be able to shade stuff too much if you have that dark outline in there. This right here in the front, this is going to be a little tricky too because I have this slight outline. So what I'll do is I'll just shade underneath that line. We're going to have to really build up this area right there. So I'm making sure that the shading is as dark as that line, and I'm going to shade into the muscle. So now we have some good separation happening. This part's a little strange though. It's almost like a forearm coming up. So we're going to need to figure out, how does the forearm muscle end? There might need to be a really big like overhanging deltoid muscle somewhere in here. So if that's the case, then all the muscles are meeting in this one spot. So I'm just going to put in some shading right in here, some darker shading. All right, the reason I'm putting in the darker shading in that one spot is because of lighting. All the muscles are wrapping around going inside to that point. So if they're going on the inside, that means that they're going to be casting shadows. There's not a lot of light going on in there. It's also going to take some patience. So if you're finding yourself being frustrated at this, it's okay. It's just take a deep breath and literally just take your sketchbook and move it away from your sight. Or what I like to do is just stand up and move about maybe 5-6 feet away from your sketchbook so you can see this from a different point of view. And then you can start to see things that you didn't when you were all up close to it. These separations need to be very subtle. I don't want my creature to be super ripped, so you're not going to see every single muscle striation. Instead, think about the skin layer, think about the fat layer, think about all of the different layers, even the texture of the skin that's going to be laying on top of the muscles. That's one of the things I had to learn throughout the years of drawing creatures and just animals in general. Like even your creatures that you make up, they look very realistic. You just put a fat layer on it. Okay, we as humans have body fat, and couple that with the thickness of the skin, you're not even going to get to the muscles unless you're what, like 5% body fat? Like, not all your creatures are going to look like that. Okay, so you can see that this area is getting a lot of attention now, and it's starting to look a little better. We got this very faint shaded outline right there. That's the deltoid muscle running across that forearm part. Then in here is kind of like a cluster where you have several muscle groups coming into a point. And then slowly but surely, we could start to layer in some different lumps and everything. So for example, I'm going to use small circular motions, and I'm just going to put in a made up lump. Okay, this is where you can kind of bend the rules a little bit. I have muscles attaching, there are tendons, there are separations of muscle. So maybe this creature has one that we have never seen yet. Okay, so we'll just put in like a little part in there and then call it a day for that part. This probably needs to be rounded more, that didn't look right. And also, this is about self-editing. A lot of times, if you're a beginner artist and you get frustrated, it's just because you can't see the mistakes for yourself. You can't see them for yourself, so you have to get somebody else to point them out. You will get better over time. Now, I've been drawing a long time. I've worked in a lot of games and movies, and I still have to get second and third and fourth opinions. You become better at it, but you're not truly going to have correctly critiqued work unless you ask for, professional guidance and fresh eyeballs. Because we become very myopic on the stuff that we are designing. This is such a strange leg. It's going to need some powerful forearm muscles up here. This big, I guess the carpal bones are inside here. So I'm just going to make do with what I got and start adding in some tendons some parts where the metatarsals and the carpal bones are just going to be meeting. I'm thinking about the large shape first. This is a sphere basically, so let's just shade in the sphere first. And then you work on the details on top of it. This is why you keep the shading very light. Notice how I'm not caring if I'm going outside of the line. That doesn't matter. Right, like this. Isn't this fun, everybody? I know if it's frustrating you, that's okay, but just look at it this way. If you're frustrated for drawing, you feel like you're not creative, you feel like you're just always going to suck and you don't know why you can't grab it like other people. A lot of it has to do with just not seeing enough of the real world, not paying attention to what's out there and drawing it. Okay, you have to obsess about drawing if you want to be a good artist. There is no way around it. So if you like creatures, you have to obsess about it. And you have to make time for this. And this isn't to go on like a side rant or, you know, like a dad pep talk here, but I'm serious when I say that. If you want to be good at something, you have to love it. And if you feel like you're just never getting better at art, it's not that you don't love it. It's just that you're not practicing the correct way. You're falling into bad habits. You know, you're being stubborn if you can't shade correctly. And it's also repetition. Just repetition after repetition. If you could put in several hours a day for drawing, that would be fantastic. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm working on this forearm section. I'm actually kind of liking how this little cluster is working in here. What a weird little area. So this is just me working my way around this strange little cluster of muscles and figuring out what parts can pop out. So these muscle striations I'm putting in with small oval shapes like circles, and that's allowing me to shade on top of the larger shaded region. And you can start to see the details coming out. This though, however, this big one coming up the side here, I'm gonna need to work on that. And I don't want to stop there with just that shaded line that I did. I need to spread that out. Comment below and let me know what you're working on, if this is helping you. And I read all the comments, good and bad. If you're frustrated, you know, I totally get it. I will say that I can't get to answering everybody's questions, especially those that, you know, if you constantly ask me what pencil am I using, what paper am I drawing on, I say it in so many videos that I'm just not going to answer it anymore. Like 4B pencil, moleskin paper, that's it. Maybe I should just put that as a graphic on the front of my page. I think I'm going to do that. Maybe after this video from now on, I'm just going to put 4B pencil or whatever I'm using. People will probably still ask me because nobody wants to read anymore. All right, so we have some joints here underneath. Here, I'm going to put a slightly darker indication of what that line is doing for the leg. I'm not going to put any shading on that part right there. Instead, I'm just going to put more detail in this forearm section because there's a really fun opportunity here to split off some tendons and have them run all the way up the arm here. This is so light that I'm putting in. There we go. Okay, now you can see that little separation right there. So it looks like a bigger muscle joint and some ligaments. There we go, some very important tendons. Oh yes, this is cool. I was I was doubting this creature a lot. This is the weirdest thing I've drawn in a long time. I don't even know what to call it. What would you call this thing? Comment below and tell me not only what you would name it, but what is it? Is it like a guardian? Does it like go grocery shopping for you? I don't know. Does it fight bullies if you order it to? That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? Because bullying is bad. Oh yeah. This is me thinking out loud. Okay, there we go. Turning out to be pretty decent. Okay, so hopefully you're you're getting some valuable lessons here, everybody. It's all about layering. It's all about the patience. And when you take a step back and look at your drawing for what it is, don't think about what it should be later, but instead think about all the possibilities that it could form into. Okay, so I didn't know that this creature was going to turn out like this, but it's fun, and I'm actually glad that it did. I learned a lot about this one. One of the things that I learned about doing something like this is having tendons come straight from a giant part, like a huge shoulder. It's almost if I was thinking of a cartoon character and I just made it in the realistic version. So I've never really done that before, so I'm kind of surprised that this happened. Would I change some things? Yes. I'm not happy with that face. I still don't like that face. I don't know. It kind of feels Nightmare Before Christmas and almost like a camel spider mixed. I don't know, maybe it's good. Tell me what you guys think of it. Okay, so let's just finish off some of these shoulder muscles as I tell you about our Creature Design Workshop Discord. So our Creature Design Workshop Discord, you can check the link in the description below for that. It is a bustling community, and it's all about creature design, but it's also about drawing. It's about posting your studio pics if you want to show that off. It's about posting your pet pics and, scribbles and things that you're learning, getting jobs, all that fun stuff. The camaraderie there is real, and it's one of the reasons why I built it as an extension of the channel. So, and it's free to join too, and you can enter in monthly creature design challenges. We just posted our October challenge, so make sure to check that out. The other thing that I want to mention is my brand new Patreon that I started. It's an extension of my YouTube channel with lessons and live streams and client work, things that I can't show on my channel. So my channel itself is this one. It's mainly for drawing lessons and getting better at art in general. But if you're wanting to dive into creature design and be really good at that, I will try to teach you as much as I know and give you some fun assignments, some hard stuff. I'm not going to go easy on you. So if you want some deeper lessons, check out my Patreon. You can join that for free also. There's tiers if you want more stuff. So I welcome everybody. This has been so much fun. Thank you for watching me doodle this. This was an example of putting emphasis on one area without obsessing about everything. Can I go back and do more stuff? Of course I can. And I could just keep going and outline the stuff, and you can truly see it. There's the feet on the other side. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you. I wouldn't be here. My channel wouldn't be what it is without you guys. So I welcome everyone. Thank you. Till next time, peace.